Okay, Shibonisi, how are you? We're seeing you for the second time here. You're welcome. How are you doing? Not bad, not bad, not bad. It's good to be here again with everyone that we've connected with earlier. So yeah, I think we have a large number of folks here in the group. So what I would suggest is that we actually do a little introduction in the chat box. Put your LinkedIn URL there. Again, this is an opportunity to connect with people whom you have something in common with, because I see a lot of you guys are probably interested in business analysis career. So these are people you are on the same journey with. Don't hesitate to put your little introduction there, your URL, so that they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Never know who might have access to the opportunities that you're also interested in, right? So this is why we network, to expand to expand the opportunities we have access to. So, guys, nice to have you here today. We have Okiomute. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, I need to fix something here. Yeah, I have this box that is getting in the way here. Okay, yeah, better. It's kind of messing up my background. We have Felix Okiomute. Ramat, where are you? And we also have Ramat. Ramat is also joining us today. Ramat is a member of our network. She's been very supportive to newcomers in different ways. But I will leave it to you guys, the panel guest speakers, to introduce yourself. We start with Felix, who is our guest because this is the first time he's actually, you know, supporting on our platform. So we'll do Felix first. We go for Ramat, and then we go for Kiyomote in that order. Just a bit of an introduction.
I'll call them they're serial entrepreneur. They will own ports and terminals across the world, really. But I work mainly with the logistics unit of both Canada and the US. I've been working as a business analyst the last 5 years. And a few years before that, I was working in, I would say I was wearing many hats in the logistics industry. So I'm happy to be here to share and, learn from you all.
Awesome. Like that, very pretty short and straight to the point. Okay. Ramat, go for it.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Perfect. So my name is Ramat. I'm a what's it called? Business analyst / functional analyst within the application space, which is SAP. And I work with Bombardier Recreational Products, or rather I worked with, yes. So my job finished kind of 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I've worked with them for roughly over 2 years. But within Canada, I've been in this space for like about 4 years now. And prior to coming to Canada, or within the transition, I was also working in this as an SAP business analyst / functional analyst back in my home country, which is Nigeria. And luckily, when I came to Canada, I continued in that same line, or rather, I found opportunity in that same line. So I'm happy to be here to share my experience and knowledge on how to transition within the business analysis space. And again, I've been within the logistics space for quite some time. So that's why probably Bjorn picked me to discuss here today. So I'm happy to meet you all. And over to you. Okay, Muti.
Hi, Ramat, long time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my name is Okemute. I'm currently a senior project manager for a consulting company that implements CRM systems basically for higher education and non-profit organizations. But my journey to becoming a senior project manager involved a path through business analysis. So my background is engineering, and then I worked in manufacturing as an engineer. I don't know. I think I did 6 months engineering work before I moved into procurement and supply chain for a while. I worked in Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC, if you know them. Golden Penny, that's the other name that they go by. So I worked in that space for a while before moving into AP Moller Maersk. And then I relocated to Canada. And in Canada, I heard about business analysis, and I was able to transition. Although I worked in procurement in Canada as well, but then I moved into the business analysis side of procurement and supply chain before then finally becoming a project manager. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So I'll do an introduction of myself as well. My name is Abiodun Oke, and I'm founder of Serial Projects and Supply Chain Industry Network. My experience has been over 20 years, mostly in the private sector, oil and gas in Nigeria, and here in Canada, 10 years being in the public sector, Manitoba Housing, University of Manitoba. And yeah, well, I think it's interesting that Tokyomochi mentioned engineering. If you watch out very well, majority of people who are in supply chain are actually engineers. They have some engineering background, and this was something that I had a struggle with when I started my career in the industry, to pursue engineering or to pursue supply chain management. But then I realized that I'm somebody who really likes to mentor. So this sort of gave me an idea that, well, supply chain will give me more fulfillment than engineering, because guess what? I'm an introvert. And if I choose engineering, that will be worse. Like that would really be the thing I don't want to happen. So I chose supply chain management, and one thing I promised myself is that I'm going to eventually specialize in technology, and that's what I'm doing today in the ERP world. Through CR projects, I support digital transformation projects, specifically supporting with SAP. I'm an SAP MM consultant, and also implement Odoo ERP for small businesses. So that's where I am today. I also teach, by the way, at the Red River College. I teach supply chain and project management. So that's in a nutshell my own experience kind of in the industry. But today the session is about it's a networking session. It's also a session where we really want to connect with our colleagues who are already in the industry, who are into the supply chain business analysis space. And the reason why we're doing this is we know a lot of our guys hope to go into this field, but they actually don't know how to go about it. For the most part, I know what a lot of people do is they go take these courses, boot camp here and there, but then there's still this teething problem of, oh, you don't have an actual project experience in business analysis, so it tends to be some type of weakness. So, but knowing fully well what supply chain entails, I think pretty much a lot of the things that we do as analysts is actually business analysis. In the procurement analyst role, is a category manager role. All of these things are heavy on business analysis. So I want to really understand from you guys. So I'm gonna ask this question, and then we can follow the same order or change the order of responding later. So after, let's say we do this for the next couple of 1 hour or so thereabout, and then we'll now get questions from the participants, or you can type your questions already in the box, in the chat box here actually, so that in between I can ask you your own specific questions. And then 30 minutes towards the end of the session, we'll go into a breakout room in case you have specific questions for these guys, given their own background. I'm also going to be in a breakout room, so you could also join if you are interested more about what I do. If you're interested in what Felix do, then you can go into the breakout room. Felix Or, it could be a bit of both. You could, do a little minutes in Okiyomide's room and then go out and go to Felix's room. So whatever you choose to do. So, but the first question here is what motivated you to choose a career in business analysis? So let's start with Felix.
Well, the simple answer to that question is it's the finances. It's it was about the income, right?
I like that.
And the backstory to that is I'd say I did hear about business analysis, from a friend back in I believe it was around 2018. So we met at a park, and we had similar backgrounds. My first degree is in economics, and he's like, "Oh, he's been working as a BA for the last 8 years," and then encouraged me and say, "Oh, try and get into business analysis." But I had this mindset at the time that it's just one of those things that once Nigerians all flood in, 2 months later it's gonna crash. That was what I had at the back of my head. So I never gave thought to it. And I was at the time actually growing my career in customs and compliance. I enjoyed what I was doing. I liked the aura of being at home and a trucker calls me at the border and say, "Oh, the officers won't let me in," and then I had to go in the system and ensure that his paperwork is correct, and effectively talk to the border officers to let the trucker pass and stuff like that. I really enjoyed what I was doing, but as time went by, I realized that in logistics and supply chain generally, it's an astronomical growth. You have to go up the ladder and keep going up that ladder before you actually earn any income. I looked at the roles of directors and managers in the so-called supply chain industry, and the pay wasn't encouraging at all. So of course, cost of living is rising. I had to advise myself. I'm like, no, you can't keep doing this. And pretty much that was the major reason why I transitioned.
Awesome. I like that. Man just went straight for the nail. I just see the nail on the head. It's the money, man.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. Let's hear okay with his perspective.
Yeah. Okay, so I think before coming into Canada, I didn't know anything about business analysis, but there was someone like a mentor that I have who, when he heard I was coming, decided, you know what, there's this path in growing your career. And when I mean there's path for financial fulfillment in this area, which is in business analysis. And there's such a low barrier to entry in that space that by that, I mean, anybody can do it. Like, basically, all you just need is some structured form of training and leveraging on your experience. You can be into that field. So I then did my own research before coming, like, what is really this business analysis? And then when I placed it with what I was doing as a procurement, as a buyer or procurement officer, I just got, what, this is actually the same thing, in quotes, like I'm gathering requirements from an end user. I'm looking at those requirements and prioritizing them, and then I am issuing them out to vendors, which could be like your software developers, and telling them this is what they want. So, and then bringing it into the delivery, and then testing that either that equipment is working or whatever it is that you bought, basically having some form of quality control. I just layered both of them together, procurement and business analysis. And I'm like, you know what, this actually makes sense. And then I remembered I was part of a project back in like my home country, and they were upgrading the systems they were using. We're using Microsoft Dynamics, I think 2009, and we're going to whether 2012 thereabout. So we had to do business process reengineering. We had to document all our processes, and as procurement experts, we're the subject matter experts. So all these guys from KPMG came in and they were interviewing us, looking fly, and I was like, what are all these guys doing? So when I discovered, this is business analysis that they were doing, I was able to put myself in those shoes. I was like, oh, okay, so that was what they were doing, and this was the result. So, and then coming in, of course, the opportunities opened up. So for me, definitely, it was a path towards better job security, better finances, and basically I've also loved playing with technologies anyway. So I think that's it for me.
Awesome, yeah. Yeah, so many things to that are relatable in what Tokiamute has actually talked about. But I will come for some of the things you said earlier. So let's go for Ahmad for now.
So coming to all those people that were looking fly from KPMG.
I know you're one of them. Like you people are one of all those consultants from KPMG, EY. They will come to our offices.
So when I came, I would say it's not like as if I pivoted or it was what I was doing before when I was back home. But here in Nigeria, we're just called consultant. But here you said business analysis. Like, what is even this business analysis? So when I did the course, I just found out that it's exactly the same thing that we're doing back home. What exactly is it? Before you implement an application, you need to go and find out from your business users what exactly is their pain point. What exactly do they want in the system? What is it that they want to see? This is everything we do. I'm like, why is it to the lack of word? Why exactly are they segmenting those rules? Is it the same thing now? So anyway, I now decided to do both ways. Since there's money there now, let's go for it. So I could either come in as a business analyst and also as a functional analyst, right? And here in North America, both of them are, are different, which I didn't see the sense in that, but yes, they are two different roles. So I would say it was something that I was doing before I just, transitioned into it as a business analyst. And funny enough, the job roles I've gotten here in this country has actually required both my specialties as both a business analyst as well as a functional analyst. So yes, according to Felix, the money, and two, it's a prior knowledge. So it was kind of easy for me to transition into this space or actually be in the space, right? And yeah, that was my motivation.
Okay. So I think the money thing is trending. So let's go focus on it now. So, so Ramat, your first business analyst role, how much were they paying you?
Okay, so funny enough, I've never had what's it called? I've never had a full-time role, so I would just put it as a contract, right? Okay, so the first contract I got, but because again, not just the business analysis part, I was also doing the functional part, meaning that I was going to the system to change what it is that they want based on the requirement from the business users. My first role I got in as, I think, was $60 per hour, $80 per hour, one of the two.
Okay.
Then the second role was now higher, right? No, I think the first role was 60. Then the second role started with 80. Then I ended up like up to 100. So till I finished, right? So no, 110 till I finished. But anyways,
that's 110 per hour. No confuse us. 110 per hour, right? I want to be very sure.
That's the last one I finished. Yes, I finished. But yes, so it was on a, and again, it depends on the organization. So if you find an organization that pay well, but now these days we just find out that organizations are reducing budget or reducing cost and all that kind of stuff. So probably we may not find that cost, but again, it is very, very profitable.
Okay, awesome. I like it. So, okay, Mute.
So my first role, it was a full-time role, landing in Canada. So that was, I think, 1 year when I landed before I got my full supply chain analyst role. It was 75K per annum at the time. It was with the regional government in Ontario. And then the next role, then I went into contracting. So from 75K per annum, it was $75 per hour. So I did that contract for a while, I think over some years before I then went back into full-time as project manager. So those are the two business analyst roles that I held.
Okay, cool. Felix.
So I would like to touch on something that Pramat said. So when we call these numbers, right? That's a classification I like to make. There are some COVID numbers and there are post-COVID numbers. right?
Okay.
So 2020, 2021, 2022, those era was COVID era. Most roles were metamorphosing and companies were willing to pay pretty much because everyone was learning and evolving, right? So it was easy to get roles with ridiculous numbers. But these days, it's kind of hard to find any of all that. But when I was starting out, my first ever contract was it was actually an interesting project. We were supposed to develop a digital twin of the Vancouver airport. So I was supposed to be on that project, and that project was about, I think at the time it was $80 an hour. But halfway into that, I got my current role with the terminal, which was a contract. Both of them were contract. My current role at the time was paying 110,000 a year. But so you would think that I would go with the digital twin airport because the money was higher, but I didn't actually, because it was more like, I'm coming from the logistics industry. You had two choices. They are both BA roles, but BA is domain specific, right? So it's, if you're bringing the business knowledge into technology, you won't struggle so much. It is easier. But then if I was going to talk airport terminology, it was completely a new world. So I had to let that go and then, stick to the terminal. And I've been with the terminal the last 3 years, and in the last 3 years, there's I've had my income go up more than 30%, right? So please separate the COVID the non and the post COVID numbers, but yeah.
Okay, so well, I will come back for this juicy discussion about salary later, but I think everybody kind of got an idea, of what is going on when it comes to that space and the salary expectation. So I think the question that we should ask, a serious question we should ask now is, okay, what does a day-to-day of a business analyst role, this business system analyst role, in terms of Ramat's experience, what does it entail on a day-to-day? So let's go for business systems analyst first, Ramat.
Okay. So first of all, the expectation is the role that you are entering. It's very good if you have a knowledge of the application that you are going to be supporting or you're going to be getting information from, right? It just gives you an edge, not necessarily a 100% criteria, but it just gives you an edge, right? It's better for me to say, okay, an organization is an organization already has an ERP application called SAP, and you have the knowledge in interview than somebody that probably has Sage, they probably rank me higher. So so what's the question again? What is the day-to-day life of a business analyst? So what I do really at work, first of all, is if there are projects, most likely there will be projects. The first thing is what exactly is the project all about, right? Identify the applications that will be used, and then understand who are your business process owners, the people you are going to be gathering those requirements from. What are their pain points, understanding their pain points, and how do you go about that? Doing workshops or doing interviews or doing one-on-one, which is interviews, one-on-one talk with them to understand why exactly
Okay. No, that she go call that woman later. Make sure
Sorry.
she call her.
Excuse
No,
us, please
unfortunately, I'm not
mute.
calling a woman. Okay, so what exactly is it? What exactly do they need that they want from the application they're presently using? Give for example, there's an organization that is already running on SAP, and sorry for my example of SAP because that is just my core domain, right? So they want to enhance their job function or role by implementing a solution that probably they want to capture all orders in the system all past orders in the system, so that when they do reporting, they are able to see which kind of customers come into, which kind of customers are are ordering large orders and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, you need to understand what exactly do they want. Then now you need to now say, okay, how do I document it? You definitely have to document, and that is the one of the essence or one of the criteria of business analysis: documentation, documentation. So what are we documenting? What exactly was the past process? And what exactly are you going to do in the new process, which is called the assist or the future process or to be process? What exactly is it going to be? What are you going to change? What are the system? What exactly are you going to put? What exactly are you going to put in place for you to be able to meet the requirements of the business process owners? So you would it's also the understanding of all these business process applications, such as BCU, is also something very important in this job role, right? So you're able to draw where exactly they are, what are they, like in buckets or in diagram, where how they transition from one point to another, right? And so able to relate what exactly those problems are, and then be able to translate it into how exactly the application would behave. So most times you might not be the one implementing the application, like now. Okay, that is one of my other um added advantage. I have hands-on experience on how the application work, but many a times as a business analyst, you probably are not going to be the one to go into the system to go and tweak what SAP does, right? But you should be able to understand these are the, or you should be able to communicate to the technical people, right? This is what they want in the system. So after you have done that documentation, you pass it down to them, they implement it, and then go back and test it based on what you have put into the system, or sorry, have put into the requirements. Are they able to see open? Are they able to see orders? Are they able to see open orders? Are they able to see the orders based on this criteria that you have put in? So you will test it. Then you go back to them and say, okay, I have delivered, rather we have delivered this process. We need you to test it. That's what we call the user acceptance testing, right? You need to test it to make sure that, okay, this works based on the requirements you gave me. And if there's any issue, they come back to you, say, okay, no, I don't see this. So you go back and, liaise with the the technical person based on documentation on, okay, this is what, these are the additional stuff they need to do in the application. Go back and forth until, it is done and it fits or it meets their criteria. You do a sign up, and then there's a deployment, right? So all those processes are what we do, or what I do in my everyday, life as a business analyst. Right? I hope I was able. I hope I
Awesome,
was
awesome. Yeah, that's you did a deep dive right there. You are
Okay.
basically on an SAP methodology
Yeah,
implementation.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, yeah, it's very good, to really have a deep dive into what the job really entails. So there is the technical part of it. There is the consultation part of it. If you hear what Ramad has been saying, and then there is the business process aspects of it. So having a combination of all of this really it's a huge strength, for somebody like Ramad. But let's go to Okemute. I think Okemute is coming from project management, but let's just hear his own experience and kind of put the puzzles together as we listen to Okemute.
Yeah, so I will speak about because my first role was a supply chain business analyst. So that was not based on the contract. That was just a need at the time.
To do what?
And basically, that was very
later when your mom
data
is back.
focused, or heavily data focused anyway. And that just involved creating reports in Excel. Basically, it was monitoring contracts. Okay, so it was the
You're
regional
disturbing
government,
me. I'm
and they
doing
had
something
tons
here.
of contracts everywhere. So basically, checking the contract utilization rates, simple Excel formulas that we had, and then creating dashboards and then reporting those to the directors as I needed. So that was a regular day-to-day work that I entailed. But in the regular day-to-day, there were also projects that were being worked on. And one of the projects that I worked on was creating a dashboard for employee utilization, that's resource utilization, because there was no there was no formal way of monitoring the levels of effort that the procurement staff were working on. So what we're seeing, because the department I was on, that was sort of like the supply chain governance. So we weren't really doing supply chain, but we're like putting structures in place to ensure that the resources were well utilized, contracts were well utilized, and the like. So in that report, it's basically what I did at that point was gather those requirements. So we want a reporting dashboard to know how busy our people are, or how less busy our people are, and what our people are working on. What does that mean? Like that's, sometimes this project will just start out very vague. Then you now have to have those discussions and interviews with senior leaders and directors to find out, okay, what really are you looking for in this report? What is the end goal of this report? It's then you, in being diplomatic, to synthesize that information that they want. And when you gather all this that they want, then you now have like a proof of concept, or like, okay, I'm speaking specifically on my own project. I come up with proof of concept. Okay, this is what you want. Come up with a wireframe diagram. We want a report that has this field, this number of field, this type of dashboard, whether it's pie chart, whether it's graph chart, whatever. Where is that data going to come from? So there's also a level of data mapping. What is going to be our intake into this report? Which systems do we have that will be connected to this report? How is it going to be refreshed? So those are the thoughts processes that will go into your planning as you build out a mock-up solution or a proof of concept. And when that is done, then it's done iteratively, meaning that you then take it back again to your stakeholders and say, hey, this is what we built, this is everything, critique it. So I was going to say, don't be too emotional about it, because when you go into critiquing it, because sometimes they will ask you, oh man, what is this report? This is not what I wanted. This is not what, or why is it? Sometimes some people can be so finicky in terms of even the color that you use to represent a chart. So, but as a business analyst and using the agile methodology in developing any form of procedure, you just have to take in those feedback and then find out the best course of action, or make a recommendation. If those feedbacks are necessary, or they are important enough to be incorporated into the new design, you incorporate it. If not, you have a what we call a parking lot, where we put, okay, those are great ideas, those are maybe future phases or and the like. So you document that and you keep it for next time, or if there's time, or if there's budgets anyway. So I walked through that process and I built out a reporting dashboard for the team, and it was purely built with Excel and getting input from stakeholders. So basically, we had to funnel those requests and the input of data through a specific clerk. Like, it was data entry on their part, but then the report outputs, and then me analyzing those reports every month and sending it to all the business leaders. It was my that was my responsibility, or that was the job that I did. So that's one of the projects that I worked on. And now, because supply chain, and as a business analyst, you could working on various projects. They are so varied. Now, the project I worked on was specifically data, but there was also a time where I worked on helping map user fields in SAP Ariba. I know Ramat apologized for SAP, but SAP, when you can't separate SAP and supply chain, is so difficult anyway. They're the number one ERP in the market anyway, and most organizations use them. So another project I worked on involved me just basically mapping fields in SAP Ariba to their previous system. And what that just means is that I forget what their past or their legacy system was, but basically a field is like an Excel, the name that you give attribute. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going to detail into this, but basically, if you have let's say, purchase order number in one field in an Excel system, that's the name of the field. But in SAP Ariba, it may not be called purchase order number. It may be called, I don't know, contract number or something like that. So basically, what I did in that is basically match up to say, okay, all these fields on the legacy system that are buyer, even date field, even as far as knowing whether it's months before day, you create that whole data table and then map it into the new system. So before any form of data gets loaded into the system. So that was one of the projects that I worked on as a business analyst. Well, I will stop there for now.
So interesting that the last project that Clemente is talking about is actually going more into data analytics So, when we talk about business analysis, it's a mix of these things that even any project that you're going to work on, it's heavily relying on data. So as a business analyst, you really cannot do without data as well. So I think some of the things you also mentioned there relate to that aspects of, data transforming, data mapping, and all those things. Yeah, great job. Let's have Felix now.
Great insights from Akemute and Ramat. And I just want to draw from what the both of you has touched on. So if you listen to Ramat and Okemute, you would learn that one thing about the job of a BA is we do too much talking and too much writing. That is really all there is to it. A lot of talking and a lot of writing, right? So the job of a BA really is you are pretty much the middleman between the business and technology, right? So basically, the best analogy I can give is this: you see the BA as a language translator, right? The business wants A. They don't know that, for you to get A, you need to bring B, C, D together and mix it up to get an A. They only know the final output. I just want the website up there. Now, what line of code that needs to go behind the scenes, what interfacing, whatever integration that needs to happen, the business doesn't understand that and is actually not interested in those details. So it is now left for you to interpret all of those details to technology. Technology, on the other hand, does not understand the business language. They only understand, should we concatenate it? Should we, is this a repeat process? Is this hard-coded or whatnot? So you also find that in the life of a BA, what happens is you get a lot of buzzwords and terminologies thrown at you, right? We're talking SAP projects, proof of concept, and all these things. Initially, it looks very overwhelming. It's like, what are these guys talking about? But the reality is this: it's domain specific. Whatever industry or whatever company that you find yourself in, give yourself, a month or two, you will get used to what's going on there, like get familiar with the business processes, and over time you will learn. And of course, that's why you have a community to ask questions and get through. Now, I will come from a more simplistic approach, like day to day, right? So my day could start with a series of email, and it's coming from our freight forwarding team saying that, oh, they sent these invoices for these customers, but the finance team is saying they cannot find those invoices, right? So it's simple. They, on their system, the logistics operation system, they posted invoices. It could be an accounts payable invoice for a customer, or it could be accounts receivable that they are going to receive. But they, in their system, it shows that invoice is posted, but finance is saying, I don't have a record of this invoice to pay it, right? So a ticket get to me, and basically what I need to do is to go to our integration interface, because what connects the logistics of freight forwarding system to the finance system is an integration, mainly an API integration. That's what connects the two of them. So if one system is not receiving the message from the other system, something has gone wrong along the lines. So really, my job then means I go and trace, where did we miss it? What happened? And then pretty much that could be my whole day. That could be what I do from start to finish for that day, pretty much tracing invoices to find out where it went wrong. And I'd like to also say this: part of this tracing, I'm not doing any coding. I am not even, I pretty much might just be calling the development team to say, I'm looking for invoice XYZ. I can't find it. Can you tell me what happened? Right? And then he goes back now. That's their core. They are detecting. He just simply goes back and comes back and tell me, oh, we had a downtime for 5 seconds, so the invoice didn't go. Can you send it again? And then I go back to the user and I say, this is what you have to do. Problem solved. And pretty much that could be all I do for the whole week, right? there sometimes you get technical, like what Ramata and Documente has said. If I'm working on a project, then of course we have in an 8-hour shift, we have 6 hours of meeting where we are talking and doing nothing, and then the other 2 hours is where we actually get to document and work. Right. So pretty much that's it.
Well, like I'm just nodding my head here, and thinking, okay, so basically you see the contrast with when you talk about somebody who is working in supply chain, right? And the whole company is literally depending on you, and to make things happen, all the things that they have promised their customers, and all the thing that you have to do to get products or materials to your company, and then to see the pay disparity. Honestly, this is why some of us will say it's a no-brainer to actually switch to business analysis and technology, because you are the subject matter expert in this thing. And what I have noticed over time is that the IT world actually drove this nomenclature of business analysis and all of those things, because like Ramat said earlier, this thing was already, like we in the SAP world, this is already a job, of the functional system analyst and functional consultants. But all of a sudden, it kind of pivoted into what they now call business analysis, and like all the standards of IIBA and all of those things became a new career, so to speak. So why I'm saying this for you guys, especially those who are participating here, is to understand that you're already doing this stuff. You're not demanding for the money that, or let's say the remuneration that you are worth, basically, as long as you continue to stay in the traditional supply chain career, right? The traditional supply chain career is great, is fulfilling, but when we look at even the data from ASCM recently talking about how fulfilling the supply chain career is, yeah, pretty much 90% says they are fulfilled doing the supply chain job. But then when it comes to, do you feel that you are compensated equally for the job that you are doing? The disparity here was so much. People, the difference was like 40% difference between being fulfilled and really getting what you think you deserve for the level of work or the effort that you put into supply chain jobs. So it's a no-brainer for us as people who are experiencing supply chain management. But the key issue still remains: how do you make that transition? So that is the logical next question for you guys. Let me see the way we are going to ask that question here. What advice would you give somebody who is trying to transition into a business analysis career from supply chain management? So let's start with Kiyomuti.
So for me, I would say functional knowledge. Don't discard your supply chain or procurement or logistics. Don't think that, oh, I need to learn something new. I think Felix alluded to that you are just hearing what's the word, different nomenclature or different insider language, but it's nothing different or nothing strange to you. That's the only thing that you just need to brush up on. Stay true to your your functional area. For me, it was easy. I think I spoke to it a bit, how I just moved from procurement and I was able to see myself as a business analyst. So when I went for interviews, I was giving examples from procurement and supply chain, not necessarily as a business analyst, but those experiences were the ones that I used to actually get my first role as a supply chain business analyst. That's the first thing I would say. Don't discard your supply chain knowledge. Instead, see yourself as an expert in that, because there are some companies, or there's a trend right now where there's the general BA versus the specialized BA. The general BA is just a BA that does everything, that doesn't really have any domain. And then there's a specific BA, where specialized BA, where, okay, supply chain business analyst, or a CRM business analyst, or they start adding like a description to business analyst. So if you see yourself in that light, you already have a strong footing. Then the next thing you now need to do is, let me brush up on my the words that I say. So what is really a proof of concept? What is a business case? What are those requirements gathering? How do you gather requirements? What are stakeholders? All those type of things, and that could come either through having one-on-one sessions like group sessions like this, or through formal education. You can take CBAB if you want, or is it CCBA? I think CCBA is also the entry level. You can take that to brush up. You can take boot camps if those boot camps have been vetted and they are not promising you jobs. You're not going in there to say, okay, I'm going to take this 3 months boot camp and I'll get a job at the end of the day. You're going in there to say, I'm going to learn the industry terminologies and apply it to what I already know, and then use that to look for a job in that field. Then obviously you have to work on your resume, work on your LinkedIn profile, and then network as much as possible in those regards. So I think that's basically the advice I can give for supply chain for anyone who wants to transition.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and the one thing I liked there was you were talking about the general BA and then also those specialized BAs. So, for example, somebody who is in procurement, for example, I mean, procurement analyst is a BA, you know, it's just the business context that changes that name. So you always want to look at it from that angle. Somebody who has a functional knowledge of SAP, for example, then becomes an SAP business analyst, right? So you have to look at it from that angle of your place of strength and do it from there. Your transition should happen from that. That should be your pivot point. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is I see a lot of people go for this boot camp and they start applying to IT business analyst job, and then they have all these funky, experiences that they cannot really defend. And they go to these interviews to just, flop because you don't really even know what you have on your resume. You have no clue about it. So, and that is what resume, even though Okemute is not saying it specifically, I'm just applying it to these experiences that I've seen from people that I've coached, that I see a lot of them are not pivoting from a place of strength. They are rather pivoting from a point of weakness, which of course it's not going to work. You're just going to end up being frustrated. And those who promise you 6 figures salary, they won't be there to support you at that time because they would have gone because your business is done with them after the bootcamp training, right? So pivot from your place of strength. If that is procurement, pivot from that. If that is SAP, pivot from that. If that is logistics, pivot from that, right? You don't have to be an IT person to become a business analyst. Okay, I think that's really where I would land. Felix.
Okay, yeah. I really want to give a very practical example here. So when you talk about pivoting from a place of strength, I would tell my own story. So I think it was I took a diploma course back in 2018, and that diploma course was on international transportation and customs. So, and as part of that diploma, I had a 4-month co-op where I had gone to work for Kunanego. Kunanego is if you're in logistics, you will know Kunanego. It's one of the big companies there. And at the time when I worked, I did this internship with Kunanego. Kunanego was using a very old system called AS400. So AS400 is one of those old systems where you have those yellow lines and whatnot, right? So, and coincidentally for me at the time, Kunanego was doing a change. They were switching from the AS400 into CargoWise. And of course, if you know CargoWise, if you're also in logistics, you probably will know CargoWise. CargoWise is like the MVP logistics and freight forwarding. That's their core system. It's like in Nigeria, I believe in finance it was Finacle at some point. Yeah. So for logistics, CargoWise is the Finacle. So in that 4 months of being there, pretty much that was when I got exposed to CargoWise. And like Okemute said before, I like to play with systems, right? So in those 4 months, I really was playing with the different modules and that was how I built my core. I built competence in that system. And shortly after I left there, I went into customs compliance, the same industry. We were using the same system. So of course, I now had exposure to both the freight forwarding module, the customs module, transportation, and pretty much all the modules of the system. And at the time of transitioning, we could call it a miracle, or it could just be God. But at the time of transitioning, DP World, which I work for now, owns its own in-house system that is a direct replica of CargoWise.
Okay.
So they were pretty much, and at the time I was applying for jobs, I felt like I'm going to remove CargoWise and remove all these AS400. I'm going to put more IT technical language in there, but I'm like, why remove it? It's there. And it was so amazing that at the time, those CargoWise and AS400 were the only two things my manager really was looking at in my resume at the time of the interview. It's like, oh no, you already have CargoWise experience. And we're looking for somebody who has exposure to CargoWise because we have Cargo Runner, which is their own in-house system. And pretty much that's how the interview turned into a conversation of, so and I've gone on to learn more than 40 different other systems in DP World in my time there. But pretty much I was only able to do that transition because of that industry knowledge. So it's very important that we have our core, like whatever system that you've used, right? That is the main core, right? And then coming to talk about like resume revamping. Now, business analysis, as the term goes, right? If you really take the time to actually go and look at job ads, what are these guys looking for? You look at job description. They're looking for someone who can gather requirements. They're looking for someone who can translate functional requirements. And it's always talking about requirements and basic things that pretty much anybody can do, to be honest. So when you look at that, you only need to just, I would say, change your language and way of thinking. We all, at some point, have been able to do some form of business analysis or the other. If you've ever worked for any organization, be it in the health sector, be it in technology, telecommunication, whatever industry you worked on, you do have some business analysis experience. If you've had to ever touch any system at all, you've ever had to use any application whatsoever, you do have business analysis exposure, right? So the only thing you do need, is I'm a big fan of boot camps and mentorship of some sort, right? And which is why I said, remember that this is post-COVID numbers, because like if you're coming to someone like me, I like to be upfront and I tell you, and I'm like, look, yes, we were able to do $200 per hour 2 years ago. It may not be true now, right? You may go and these guys are offering you 75,000 a year or even 60,000 a year. That is the reality. Also, depending on where you are, right? The province where you are matters, the city where you are, the organization where you are. These are, there are differences. So I find a lot of people come into business analysis with the mindset of expecting a miracle, or you're looking at, okay, Okemute is in my network, Ramat is in my network. Okemute got a job yesterday and they're paying him 100,000, and Ramat too has gone and she's collecting 120, and I am expecting, oh, I'm going to come and same thing is going to happen in 2 days. But it's their story may not be my story, right?
Exactly.
You could find that we could both have the same resume, we apply to the same company, look at the two of us, and they never even call me, and then they just call the next person. So if you're going in with the mindset of understanding that, okay, these things take time, it may not happen, overnight, and also you actually spend some time to build the core competence. That's what I find is missing. Most people, they're expecting a miracle. Right, you have this wonderful CV somebody has worked on, you're going to apply for jobs right away. But then if you're asked a question that you pretty much that actually is embodied in the so-called system development life cycle, how does the project start and how does it end, right? You don't even know where it starts from, where it ends. You don't know how to separate your own role from a particular project. When you go to interviews, you won't be able to pass them, especially when you're talking to technical people. You won't be able to. So, but if you spend some time to build on your core competence, understand, in fact, there are 1,010 YouTube videos that are actually very good. You just need to listen, understand, okay, where does a project start? Where does it finish? And also understand that in a project, when a project starts from the start to the finish, the BA doesn't do everything.
Yeah.
The BA's position, your role might just be process mapping. That is all you have to do from till the project comes to an end, right? So, but if project mapping is the only thing that you know, when you go for interviews, you are able to channel the conversation to let them know that it was a big team, right? But my own specific role and my deliverable was to map the processes. And then when you own that, anybody can see that, okay, at least this person worked on an actual project, right? But what's missing is most of us don't want to burn the midnight candle to actually learn the competencies. It's like we just want to go through life on a straight line. But if you sit down to actually build those core competencies, it doesn't take time. And these are not things that you don't know before. It's the same. You know them. It's just being able to translate them in a language that relates to the industry. That's pretty much what it is.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that. That kind of sums up, what Kiyomote has said earlier. I don't know if Ramat has been able to answer the same question. Okay, can you go
Sorry,
for it?
no, I haven't. But again, I don't think there's even much I would add to what this esteemed young gentleman has.
Okay. So let's ask you
Everything.
a different one.
Okay.
Apparently, maybe you can share, whatever relates to that the other questions from this perspective as well. So can you share a success story where your work as a business analyst made a significant positive impact on your organization? In terms of what value does a business analyst actually add to the company? I mean, positive impact.
Okay. So when I was coming here, you did not tell me I was doing an interview, but you didn't know.
Yeah, well, for all the $100 per hour, you should be expecting that question.
Okay. Anyways, I would say from the various roles, or let me even take from this recent one that we just that I just concluded. So the project was on, or rather, not the project, because we eventually, after the main project, we transitioned into the business and started doing pockets of projects, right? So one of the why I was actually taken in the first place for the job role is, and again, okay, I think I probably need to share this before I answer your question, and just to encourage people out here. The first time I applied for this role, the same set of people, except one, that interviewed me in July, sort of July of that year, 2021, I was rejected. Then another recruitment team came to did the interview. He said, no, I don't think you'll be good fit. Okay, fine. Another set of recruitment agency came to meet me. It's the same role, right?
Okay.
They hadn't even filled that role from that July. This was November then. And the same, so they told the same role, they told me about it. And then I told the recruiter that I have done this interview before, but I don't know if he now said, well, they've already booked me for the interview. What I can do is don't talk about it unless they ask you. Just go for the interview. So I went the same for the interview. The same person that interviewed me, that was July. This is November. And one other new person. And started talking about it. And funny enough, after that interview, an hour later, I got the opportunity. The same person, the same role, but just one other person that was added to it. So what I'm trying to put here is that so sometimes interviews are subjective, right? It's based on what the person is feeling at that point in time, or how they feel about you, or whatever the case may be. But it doesn't stop you from still, applying, right? And funny enough, I got the confirmation 1 hour. 1 hour. This is the role that I applied 4 months or 5 months prior back, right? And I applied again. So that's just a side, just to encourage us that you know what, you can actually, it doesn't matter. Is whenever you hear a no in an interview, it shouldn't deter you from saying, oh, I'm not good enough, right? Because many people also have that idea and ideology. And I would say the same set of people, right? Except for one person again that came into the picture, interviewed me again, and then they gave me that role. So it's not a bad indication for you. It's just something that says, okay, you know what, is a no today, tomorrow will be a yes, right? Then okay, coming to answer your question, what have I done that was a success in this role? So we implement projects as a business analyst. You first of all get information from your business process owners and all that. So for this particular project, right? Okay, they were moving. So they had their information on a legacy data system, which is the SQL, right? Now they wanted to move those information into their new data system, which is Snowflake now, right? And most of these their processes run on SAP. Believe you me, I don't know anything called SQL. I don't know anything called Snowflake, but they dumped me there. I cannot say I don't understand, sir, right? But I have to because see how much you're being paid, but you have to, you have to go and learn and everything like that. So, but the thing that got me going was that the processes that I was analyzing or getting all this information from was SAP. I had a knowledge of it. And again, it was my model because SAP is large. When people say SAP, it doesn't mean that you know it. SAP has finance, SAP has procurement, SAP has logistics, SAP has different production, quality management. So, but the aspect which I was involved in was what the business process we're using. Like I'm involved in sales and distribution, and sometimes they span across procurement, which involves inventory and all that. So yes, I had to get all those tables. If anybody has done SAP in an application, let me just say SAP, an ERP application, you have a place where all those information are stored. They are stored in tables, right? And so you read all those information from those tables, and then you now translate it to where they are getting those information from, and then pushing it to, okay, this is what is present in the legacy system. This is how we want it in the new system. And then you do a mapping to that. You do a mapping. Now this is called data analysis. This is beyond business analysis because you understand, first of all, you understand the business process. Now you come back and understand what the data is. Now you come back and understand how are you using the system. I'm not scaring anybody, but I'm just saying this is what you see in a life example or a life business processes, right? So you now come back and say, okay, this is how can I even get those information from SQL? It's not just normally knock SQL and get those information. No, you have to write queries, right? So I have to go and learn all those things. How to write how to write all those queries, right? Getting all this information and then translating it into SQL. So yes, successfully, and of course it wasn't just me and various other business analysts, right? Were able to get all those information that we needed and successfully deployed into the new application, which is Snowflake. And we did a lot of testing. So like Bjorn said earlier on, I think it's Felix actually said, it's also not just you. Whenever you're in a business environment, try and see those people that you can actually relate to and then pick their brains because you don't know everything. Even if you know everything, right? There are sometimes you need to, get stuff get your allies, right? Get information from them people and then, be able to improve in your work. If not, they will detect it and say, oh, this person is not good enough and throw you out. So before you get to that point, you need to be able to I don't understand this. I did not understand this skill. How do I get about it? You read and then also get information from other people that are working with you and said, okay, you know what, I can get all this information and then deliver at that point because as a contractor, not full time now, you are based on you are scored on deliverables. You have to deliver, right? So you deliver and deliver on time. So we're able to successfully deliver that business process, and now it's actually running on Snowflake. So what we do what we do after that now is, okay, what are the other business processes that we now push into Snowflake? We now decommission that legacy system, right? So I don't know if I've answered the building, but I just use the opportunity to be able to add one or two lessons that I learned from where I was, so that I can share with the crowd, and then
which is great. Even though so here's the thing about interviews that I want to throw in, that if you are asked a question, you don't have to necessarily answer that question the way it's asked. Like, you could really tune it to what you really want to say in a way that you are still able to kind of share some insights or add some value. So yeah, great what you had mentioned. I mean, how you answered the question. It talks about you being able to assist the company with the transition from one system to the other by kind of learning the use of SQL, moving them from an SQL system into the Snowflake, which is probably the modern system that they're now using. But the part that I was kind of keen on there is how because I know SAP runs on SQL, right? But now that they are moving to S/4HANA, is it still possible to use SQL, or they're using, we have the cloud-based.
Yes. Yeah. So what they did is it's not like they purchased Azure and Microsoft Azure SQL entirely. Okay. So they are not using SAP for reporting or for getting all those data.
Okay.
What they do is the information from SAP, map all those information. They have what's it called? Integration points. Push it to SQL, map it there. Then this is there. Then the reporting team goes into SQL and run their queries to build their different fanciful dashboards for Power BI and all that. They did not use SAP anything analytics, right? Okay. The same thing with Snowflake is also out of SAP. All they need is just read those information from SAP, push it into the system, analytics then run their information.
Okay. So makes sense. Then I have a better idea of what the project is now. Okay, sounds good. So we have some more minutes in this segment. So what we're going to do is to see if there are actually questions. So I see one question earlier about a student. Yeah, I think somebody, if you're here, you want to ask the question in person, you can indicate, and then I will bring you up to ask the question.
Just a quick one to the question that the student had asked. Said, as a supply chain student, what are the things that I should be looking out for? I just wanted to throw this out there quickly also. So one thing that I find is, and unfortunately, I think this thing follows us from Nigeria, and it comes here to play out. We are not specific. Supply chain is a world on its own. Right. And if you find yourself in that bubble, I'm a supply chain, you will never be able to channel what you're looking for or where you should specifically go. Right. In supply chain, there's logistics, there's freight forwarding, there's transportation, there's customs, there's a ton that happens in supply chain. So from a student perspective, you will need to start from what area, what core do I want to focus on? Once you identify that core, it brings it reduces the audience for you, and then you are now focusing on a specific area. Like in my case, I took generally the supply chain program, but then I wanted to focus more on the customs part of it, right? And that's how I found my way in customs compliance, even though I still had background in freight forwarding and in logistics and how pretty much freight moves from China to the kitchen. So I understand that process. But if you don't come out from that bubble of, supply chain is the general, it's like saying health is general, right? But you need to now say, okay, because even if you want to be a doctor, there is an ophthalmologist, there's a dentist, so it's the same thing in logistics. So the moment you understand where your core is, then the journey becomes easier.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I kind of hear you in terms of, you for you to have clarity, even in the person you're trying to, speak to, that you can do the job, you need to be very specific. I get the point of a lot of people come into Canada and they see like, oh, I have opportunity to transition to this or this or this, and then they struggle with, then how do you then really communicate clearly what you really know how to do when you are all over the place? And I see that very often when I'm looking at people's resume. They are the IT administrator, they are also the cybersecurity specialist, they are also the data analyst, and all of these things are all over the place on the resume. And you're wondering, okay, so bro, which one is it, that you actually do, because this is all over the place, right? So I hope that helps to drive home the point. So pick something that it's your strength or your core, or you've had opportunity to be exposed to it, then build it up from there. Either you go to boot camp, or you do a course, or you do something that helps to take you to the next level, or do an industry certification in that particular area that takes you to the next level, right? So the other question here, I think you answered it already, but I don't know if Okemude can speak to it better. I will start from what company or what part of supply chain you are. Oh, okay. So that's your response to the supply chain guide. Somebody asked something about Excel. Yeah. So Okemude, please make clarification on whether you use Excel sheet or a software or program to address the mapping of the legacy software to the SAP Ariba.
Excel.
Yeah,
It's
Excel. Yeah.
Yeah. I know sometimes we think that there are maybe fancy tools. Sometimes Excel is like the go-to. I know there are fancy
Yeah.
tools everywhere, every software, but there's some like applications that I use. I will still export to Excel to do my own analysis and everything. But yeah, for data mapping is Excel. And that was a simple one. Currently on the projects I'm in now, even though I'm project managing, I've seen some data maps. Data maps can be large, like where I'm talking about complex spreadsheets and interlinking and everything. Yeah, but Excel is just flexible enough for that.
Okay, so there's another question here. What professional certification do you need in business analysis? It's an interesting question, but I would like to see how you guys answer that.
Right. I would like to I would like to take that, because I was going to say something about this. So generally, at least to the best of my knowledge, the only body that tends to regulate BAs as of today is BABUC, and then the certification for that is the CBAB certification. However, when you look in, I was looking at this with someone last year. There are more than 200,000 BAs in the world as of today, or as of the time, right? But Babuk has not even given out certifications to even 100,000 people since its inception in the 2000s. So now you begin to wonder, how are the other BAs working without a certification, right? So the thing about, from my own perspective, certifications for these roles, they are nice to have. They are not a must-have. It looks good if you have them. For me, I prefer not to even have them, because at the end of the day, it comes with what do you call it? There's annual dues that I don't want to pay. But so that doesn't take away from the fact that if you are looking at getting into, for example, the city of Toronto, you're looking at getting into city of Edmonton, some of these government agencies, to streamline the application and streamline the number of people who are going into these companies, they focus on certification. They want you to have certification, because in those in those type of settings, it's like there are levels, like the jobs are tiered in levels, right? So for you to be hired as a level 8 business analyst or something, you need to have this certification. So in the government sector, in the public sector, it works that way. In private sector, not as much. And I say, don't try to get into the industry from a certification perspective, because what happens is our mindset and our choices and our views evolve over time. BA might be your transition into the tech space, but by the time, because the beauty of BA is it gives you exposure to work with pretty much everybody that's involved in the SDLC. And then by the time you get involved, You find, like Abiodun mentioned before, saying he's an introvert. You could be introverted and you find out that all these early morning meetings of, can you see my screen? You don't want to do it. You rather give me a task, I will go and I do it. And then when I am done, I will give you the response. It's like sometimes I envy my data guys because it's simple. We just come and like, we need this dashboard or we need this done. And then they look at it and like, okay, you'll be ready 20th of July. I don't know what he's going to do. I cannot question him to say, why is it 20th of July? Neither am I going to say, let us have a stand-up meeting on a Monday so that you tell me how far you've gone. There's no such thing. So I envy that because my own life starts 6 a.m. in the morning, sharing screens and and explaining how far I've gone in the documentation. So you may come into the industry to realize that, okay, maybe BA is good and all, but I want to become a business system analyst, for example. You want to focus on a system and grow your core from there, or you could branch off into DevOps, or you could branch off and say, you know what, it's even cybersecurity I want to do, or data analysis or whatnot. But if you've already invested $2,000 in getting CBAP certification, then it becomes challenging. Plus, again, the thing about certifications is they give you some arrogance and arrogance or confidence, right? You feel like I have this certification and then let me come in and they are going to give me a job. But then if you don't know it, you don't know it. Even though you have that beautiful certification on your resume, nobody's looking at it. They're looking at the experience, right? So I've worked in the health sector, I've worked in logistics, and then I've had different consultations here and there. And so far, all of these jobs have simply been because of my industry experience and the exposure that I had in the days I worked as a logistics analyst, as a customs compliance officer, and all of that, right? Nobody cares about my certification. If I do CBAP today, it's because I just wanted to make my name a bit longer, but not because that is what gets you in the industry. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Okay, great. I hear you.
Can I
Go
also
ahead.
add to that? So yeah, I agree with Felix anyway on certification. So I think getting certifications, the end point is not necessarily to get you to get a job, or the certification is not to get the job. I don't know how I'm going to answer that, but basically, I did my PMI actually has a business analysis certification, which was what I did first to get knowledge, because as I was transitioning, I just needed to really understand the terms and be able to speak towards business analysis and the like. So that's how I did the PMI PBA is what they call it. It's lesser known. I don't know how many people have that certification, but I just did it. It was easy enough. And then I think a couple of years later, I think I then did the CBAP. But just mentioning, it's a personal thing on your end. Don't look at the certification as this is what I need the job. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is leveraging your experience. That's why, even though I'm skeptical about boot camps, but I would always recommend a boot camp that gives you practical experience that you can use and you can speak to, not just theory of this. Boot camps that will give you projects that you say, okay, work on this, and then you have an output, like a deliverable from that boot camp, is what I will always recommend in getting jobs. But for certifications, I think the longer you stay or the kind of organization you're working in, that's when we'll now determine, okay, what certifications do I want to get? Okay, for you to go to level 5, you need to have your CBAP, then you go and do your CBAP, or whatever it is. Because after a while, if you're just packing certifications, now it's not like, okay, what do you want to do? Where do you want to channel yourself to? And sometimes I'm in that boat anyway. So I mean, I'm guilty for that. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, certifications are basically can be an entry to filter you out. It may get you into that interview, but if you cannot speak towards your experience, the certification will not save you into getting that job anyway.
Thanks, and thanks for everybody for all the contribution. I mean, it's so exciting to hear all of these experiences given. I didn't even know that we spent so much time here already. So let's go into the breakout room for those who might have questions that are specific to SAP. For Ramat, those who have questions are specific to project management, for Kilmate, and then those who might have specific questions for logistics, business analysts, analysis for Felix. We'll spend just 15 minutes there, and then we'll come back here and we'll just do a little bit of final, submission, and then we could all go afterwards. So I'm going to make sure that anything after 15 minutes, the room closes out. So you will have like what is it called? You have like 60 minutes to round up. So 15 minutes with so you can go to any room you want. So that's the way this is going to be set up. Okay, so let's do it. So I want to be sure that you guys can see the rooms, because I'm not seeing that you have joined. Okay, so I see people joining now. Okay. Okay. Nobody is on Okiomute. So if you guys want to speak to Okiomute, is available, is open. Olusegun, I see your comment there. Do you want to join any of the breakout rooms there? We
Yes.
have which one do you want to join?
A business analysis.
Is it Felix? Is it Okiomute or Ramat?
To be honest, I joined the call late, so I don't know who is in charge of what.
Okay, so Okiomute is more into the project management aspects. Felix is logistics. Ramat is systems, business systems, SAP.
Okay, I guess the project manager will be more
Okay.
relevant.
Okay. Shibanishi, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Where do you want me to add you? Is it Okiomute, Felix, or Ramat?
Sorry, I'm actually working in procurement at the moment.
Okay, so do I move you to Okiomute's one?
Yes, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Okay then. What else here? Can see.
Not really been easy because I started off the business during the COVID-19 period. When I started the business, the COVID-19 came. So striving in the business wasn't that easy, but I still pushed on. I think those are what motivated me to go into supply chain. But really, I have not really found my stand on which of the supply chain type to go in. I think I
Okay.
sent you a message either going into the procurement, logistics, then custom and immigration. I'm thinking of those, but I've not really placed my feet because I'm just barely 2 months into the program. So I'm still
Okay.
like to understand what it is. So I'm learning from your experience and other people's experience just to know where to stand my feet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that does make a whole lot of sense, and it kind of ties into what Yemi was saying also. So the thing that I would say is this, from my own personal experience. Actually, when I had when I was going to start a program here in Canada, initially I was applying for a supply chain management certification, and but I then went for one of their I can't remember what's called now, open house. I attended an open house, and in that open house, one of the professors for international transportation and customs was, kind of selling the program to the students. And then I looked at the international transportation and customs, and it had one thing: specific focus on logistics and customs. So you had to either do one of the two. So because of that, I was like, I like this, and I really wanted to do the customs part of it. And then that was how I went in, and we learned a whole lot, right? At the time there was a time every week I cleared nothing less than 1,000 containers coming into Canada, right? Sometimes I was doing the exports and all of that, and all of that experience is helping me now to build an AMS filing system and our ISF systems for the company that I work for now. So those experience kind of translates into me being the functional expert now for the system that's going to be built for us to be able to file our own ISF and our own AMS. So in terms of what area to go into, really, I think the easiest way to start is to look at what is the day-to-day life of these people. What do they do? You look at logistics. And when you're looking at any area, please also look at the pay scale, right? Because if you're looking to gain exposure into logistics before eventually translating that into technology, you look at, because for example, logistics analysts or logistics coordinators, there's a million jobs out there in Canada, but the pay is hard to be fair, right? So if you come from that angle that, oh, there are so many jobs, yeah, there are so many jobs, but you can't pay the bills, right? So you also have to look at where can I make the most financial sense of my decision, and also, how exactly would this fit into my work-life balance? If you're able to find, the very the thin line where these two balances, you'll be fine. And back to what you were saying, Yemi, I think it's yes, it is daunting to try to transition. I don't deny that, but I think that the major problem is not necessarily just the industry. It is that you are not ready, right? You
Yes. You know, so but I know that something will come up, hopefully.
Yeah.
So now where I'm driving at is, if I love what I from Nigeria, I have over 10 years experience in contracting and procurement.
Okay.
I've used SAP.
Okay.
So my experience is just within the oil and gas.
Yes.
I was using SAP for different reporting, business warehouse, Ariba for my day-to-day activities, right? Now coming here, I really love what I was doing, because I've built my career to the point where I have professional certifications, I have my master's. So I actually, because I loved what I'm doing, that career path, I had to just, you know, try to build myself up, build my certifications and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, if, for instance, I want to veer into maybe the consulting part, yeah, my role is consulting anyway, because back in Nigeria, I was employed by a third party that was employing contractors for an oil company. I worked in Total, right? Now, if I want to now veer into maybe business analysis, you know, yeah, it's all for the money, right? Who will want to? Major focusing in contracts, because that's my area of specialty, contracts and procurement. What would be your advice?
Where do you work right now? Do you work right now?
Yes, I'm with the school board.
Okay, yeah, the school board.
Yeah.
What applications do they use?
I'm not sure, because I'm not in their procurement.
Okay, so what part? So you should be able to have an idea of an application that they use, even with what application do you use any application at all for your job role?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
So you need to find out why haven't you tried to apply into the procurement aspect?
So that's another thing now. They do have openings from time to time. So the openings that they've had so far since I've been there, I've not seen any for procurement contracts and all of that, right? So I don't know if I should just go a step further to ask if there's need for a procurement, or you know, that sort of thing.
Okay.
The two certifications that that body has. But you mentioned business analytics. So we're not talking business analytics though. Even though it's all in a way, all these things blend. Like you can be a BA and work on data projects, and you learn data analytics skills. And they could call. And another thing is also, don't also be too focused on the job title itself. While sometimes you may see they mainly will call that out, but also look for, do you know process improvement is actually under business analysis? Like somebody who works in maybe drafting SOPs or quality assurance.
That's actually what I did. My last job was majorly on that.
And that could be an avenue in which you want to use to explore, to enter into business analysis, if you have if you can speak towards those things in the interviews, because I think business analysis has 5 domains. Now I won't know all the domains. There's the agile domain, there's a process improvement domain, there's a data domain, and I think there's the ordinary projects domain. I always forget the 5, but there are 5 domains for business analysis. You can Google this, you'll see it. So if you're in any one of those domains, you can blow that up, expound on that in your resume and in your approach in job applications. Creating of SOPs, as I say, is a process. If you have experience drafting and creating SOPs or mapping processes, that is business analysis, and you can leverage on that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's all. I've actually gotten, you know, been here for a while now, and
self-doubt is beginning to come in. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should go back to Niger.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's because when you're here and you've attended a handful of interviews and you're able to, you start asking yourself if you've made the right decision.
Yeah, I know what you say.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying anyway, but to be honest, I know Abiodun has I've forgotten your approach. I used to borrow this from Abiodun about job search is transactional. Like, don't get too emotionally attached to it. It doesn't speak to your value. It could be anything. Rama's story was a brilliant one. That how many interviews did she do with the same people? So it's not on your value. Anything you could be rejected for a job for anything. It's not. Yeah. So anyway, just thought I'll say that.
Know, I've actually rejected people too. So I know the feeling now. So I get it.
All right.
But then
Recording in progress.
The suggestion here is to connect with all the guys that we have here today. You can continue the conversation. This is a networking. It doesn't stop. Basically, it's continuous. Even though today we just provided the opportunity for you to connect with Felix, Ramat, and Okemochi to learn about their story. Going forward, this is something that you could also connect with them on LinkedIn, and through that you will find other guys, who are also on the business analysis journey. I think I will try to share their link with you. I believe I'm connected with Ramat and Okiomote, but I don't think Felix is on LinkedIn for now. He's on LinkedIn holidays. Right? So, but you can connect with him maybe via email or other means. So this is Ramat. Let me see. Okiomote is one. And like I have mentioned earlier, guys, share your own LinkedIn URL as well. You never know who might have opportunities or have information. Um, this might also help. So, and this is why I always say that, every event is a job fair. Okay. Every event is a job fair. What I really mean is that whenever you go to any event, be it online, be it in person, always have that at the back of your mind is that you need to take it beyond just that one time event. Use it as an opportunity to build relationship, nurture relationship, which helps you to gain access to much more opportunities than you currently had or that you had prior to that event. So I think there was a question on let what do you think of TriTech 3 months practical now? So we can't give any opinion about any boot camp here. I think it's something for you to find out yourself or to reach out to people who have attended such boot camp, right? And then be able to know if it's something that is really worth it. For us here, the type of next step that we recommend is based on the services that we provide on serial projects. We have the job search and mentoring, job search coaching and mentoring. And then also we have all the professional development activities that are happening on our platform, be it SAP. We have SAP is currently ongoing, SAP SAP FI. We also have a lot of resources. If it's CBAP that is your thing, if it's PMP that is your thing, these are all possible on our platform, and especially for those who are in supply chain. We are a partner for partner with ASCM, that's Association for Supply Chain Management. The one certification I recommend for those who really want to be grounded in supply chain as a business analyst is CSCP. And the reason why we always recommend CSCP is that it covers end-to-end of supply chain. So it's not just about procurement, or neither is it just about inventory management. It is the end-to-end. So this will give you better grounding in terms of your knowledge and understanding. You remember we said something earlier about really identify your core and then build your professional development, your proficiency on that core, and then launch from there, pivot from there into business analysis roles. So that's what I would use today as a landing for us. Next week we're going to talk about the professional development in detail, for either supply chain, project management, and every other, professional development in between for those who are looking to take that next step, or fit into a supply chain or project management or supply chain management career. So that will be for me for today. I don't want to spend any more time because we've committed quite a number of hours here today. I really want to appreciate Felix for joining in. We meet here every Saturday, by the way. And Felix, you're invited to join our network. We have a WhatsApp group of about 500 professionals across Canada. And also our platform, the website, the platform we use is Mighty Network. We have over 1,000 professionals across Canada that are in supply chain, project management, business analysis, and all of that. So I would invite you to join us. It's for you and those others who are not yet on our platform is supplyjobs.ca. That's the website. So if you would join us, we'll then bring you from there. We'll bring you into our WhatsApp group. We use this as a way to kind of screen people. We want to get them on the platform first, and then from there we'll add them to the WhatsApp group. So that's it for today. If you have friends who are also keen about developing a supply chain, recommend them to join our network. Thanks, Ramat. Thanks, Okiomute, Felix. We'll connect back soon, and hopefully we'll also see what value we can add for what you have helped us with today. Thanks so much. The recording will be on YouTube. We stream live on YouTube. It's also on LinkedIn and on Facebook as well for serial projects. Bye for now, guys.
Thank you.
So I think somebody is asking question about maybe the next step. So for anybody who is interested in asking any questions specifically related to them for their career, I will share a link quickly with you. So you can use this link. And by the way, I will leave this session on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just so everybody can have access to the links I'm sharing here. Even though everybody can go away once you have access to the information, but you can connect with guys here. The URLs are here, and the links to have a 15-minute session discovery chat with me, where we can do a deep dive into how you really want to move your career going forward. But I've just shared that link. Okay, I think I'm sharing with Samuel only. Let me share with everybody. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do. Let me see if I can share. I won't be able to share the WhatsApp. I don't have it here on my computer. Okay, so but just join the supplyjobs.ca, and from there we'll share the link to join the WhatsApp with you. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Thank you.